If you're postpartum, does your left arm hurt? I guarantee it does, because you're probably right-handed and you're probably carrying your baby in your left arm all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Shared experience.
Your left shoulder, left arm is probably hurting.
Welcome to Pelvic POV with your hosts and doctors of physical therapy, Amanda Neary and Hannah Meyer. What's up, pelvic freaks? Welcome back to another episode of Pelvic POV.
Where you're freaks for us and we're freaks for your pelvis, baby.
You amped today or something?
I'm going to keep experimenting with different ways.
That's
to
pretty
say
enthusiastic.
Yeah. Next time I'll be more mournful. I'll be like, we're freaks for us and we're freaks for your pelvis.
I don't like that.
Okay.
But yeah, you should play around with different
Yeah,
words.
I
think that's kind of fun.
We'll have to play with different emotions and themes.
What were you just telling me about ChatGPT?
Oh, I watched this Instagram reel and it was like, guys, I'm not just an Instagram reel. I'm on TikTok too. Okay, I'm cool. But I happen to be on Instagram.
Yeah,
for this.
important disclaimer.
Yeah, disclaimer. I still watch TikTok. I'm not only reels person. I watched this Instagram reel and it was talking about how you can use ChatGPT to make an itinerary for yourself if you're single. So you can go on ChatGPT and be like, make a fall itinerary for me as a single 26-year-old female who likes to do this. And then you can use that to go meet people and meet singles.
The amount of things people do on ChatGPT that I just never would have thought of.
AI is changing the freaking game. It's kind of terrifying.
Yeah, it's a little scary. That's interesting. Did you do it? Did you set the itinerary?
No, I need to do that today.
Send it to me. I'm curious. I would do it too.
You need to do it too, yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Aside from what ChatGPT suggests, what are we going to do this fall? I
want to go to an apple orchard in Wisconsin or something.
Yes, I actually have a good one in Illinois too that we could go to. And then all the spooky shops and
I sent you that. Yeah. I sent you all
actually
the
4 people
shops.
sent me that video.
Are you serious?
Incredible. I feel very
it's because you've been talking about how much you want to go.
Amanda would want to go to these, and I'm like, yeah, actually,
we need to go to Sideshow soon.
100% today. Maybe
we could.
Okay. We made more plans together.
Oh my god! Surprise!
Oh my gosh.
We need to talk about how we are all manifesting. We keep manifesting the wrong things.
Oh my god. I'm manifesting in the craziest way right now. The first one, so me and my roommate Lauren, we were driving home from somewhere. We passed that iFly place. It's indoor skydiving, if you don't know what it is. And she was like, I've never really wanted to do that. And I was like, I want to do that, but I don't want to pay for it. And she was like, yeah, but I don't want to go there on a date because it'll give me the ick. And I was like, 100%. I don't want to go there with a man, but I don't want to pay for it, but I do want to do it. I get home, Hannah comes over that night and talks about how she has free passes to iFly that she got from a Christmas gift. And I was like, I just manifested that in 4 hours.
I have 8 iFly passes randomly. My dad went crazy for Christmas and was like, I know what Hannah would want. She wants 8 free passes to go indoor skydiving. Yeah. And I was like, honestly, yes.
That was so wild. We actually haven't done it yet, but we need to.
We need to. But we were watching videos of people doing the indoor skydiving. And you were like, yeah, I was right. This would give me an ick.
No, I could not. Absolutely could not go there.
Imagining someone jumping in the window. I was like, I'm going to give myself
that dumb little jumpsuit. The instructors are doing it. They look so cool. And I'm like, you're disgusting.
Oh my God. And then you manifested again.
What did I manifest?
You're a manifestation generator. We talked about that.
Yeah.
And I am too.
What was the second thing?
When you were like, oh, should we go? You're walking home from the riverfront.
Oh my gosh. I was walking home from the river with my roommate again. And we had a couple drinks and we passed Hannah's street. And I was like, Hannah lives here. Should we go say hi to Hannah? And she was like, well, is she even home? And I was like, I don't know. And it was kind of late. So we were like, okay, we won't see Hannah, blah, blah, blah. Not 4 minutes later do we pass Hannah on the street walking home from her hair appointment. It's 9 p.m. So this is not something that would normally happen. No. It was so odd. And we just ended up talking to her for 8 minutes. And I'm like,
literally 8 minutes.
That exactly. Was wild.
And then I passed you on the street again, the next day when you were walking with Andy.
Not that I don't already see you every day, but it was so wild that I was like, oh my God.
I saw her again. I was like,
she is.
get away from me.
Need to stop manifesting her.
God. And then we literally did this like whole manifestation ritual the other night where we like started like manifesting like ourselves in like the next year. We were like writing about like who
the other night, that was months ago.
we went so hard on this manifestation.
No, it was wild.
And like it's just funny that like these little ones just like keep happening.
It's a good sign that we're aligned.
That means that big one is gonna big
ones are coming, baby.
Big.
Yeah, it's been just a wild year. What a good year so far.
I know. When I think back to like my year, like me in January to me now, I'm like, holy
Leveled
shit.
up hard.
You're a baddie.
Yeah.
Like, damn.
No, in every way.
Like Amanda and I, like this is our story, okay? Because like we introduced ourselves, but the way like this podcast started, we like went through breakups at the exact same time through like with a situation of like not being treated appropriate, like in the right way. So we like related really well on like our breakups, and like we like would talk to each other and like keep ourselves strong through our breakups. Like if I didn't have you, I would have been like a freaking wreck. Like I was a wreck, but
like, was like, I'm sad today. I was like, no, you're not. And she's like, you're right.
And the same.
Yeah.
I was like, stop that. No.
Stop that.
But you can also feel what you need to feel.
Yeah. And then we just kind of kept spending more time together from there and became besties. And then we were like, let's start a podcast because we bounce off of each other so well.
And it's weird because we have so much overlap in like our personal lives, like outside of work, that we eventually would have met in like somehow, some way.
Yeah.
Because like I have like the pole community and you have a friend in the pole community, and like I go to like the Revive across the street.
Yeah, we would have met through there. We would have met through our mutual friend that you went to PT school with.
Yeah.
Like there were a lot of connections.
So crazy. Like the universe was like, fucking me. Oh, sorry. The universe was like, God damn.
We're keeping that in. We are not getting
the universe was like, freaking dang it. Get meet together already.
It was awesome.
Oh my God, I'm still holding my Summer Fridays lipstick, like clenching it.
Love it. It's so delicious.
Brown sugar.
Can we go to Sephora right after this?
I'm down. You and you literally were just like, I don't have money. I'm not spending money.
I do need to go to Sephora though, actually, before I go to Greece.
I just ran out of my Paula's Choice.
If you can wait an hour while I get a tarot reading done.
I can sit here and just sit. Honestly, I don't need much to entertain me.
Sick. Cool. So what do we want to talk about today?
Okay, so we are going to talk about something very important. And
I actually forgot. Oh, we're talking about postpartum.
Yes.
Okay.
We're talking about postpartum physical therapy because we just released an episode on pregnancy PT, like how we do like prenatal PT, because people are so surprised. I actually have patients all the time that are like, that are coming to me during pregnancy, and they'll be like, yeah, my friends are like, wait, you're going to PT during pregnancy? What? So that's cool that we talked about that. But now we'll talk about the more common that we see is 100% postpartum.
When people hear that we're pelvic floor therapists, they assume that that's like our main population. They're like, oh, you see postpartum women. And I was like, yeah, we do. But that's only like a quarter of what we see, really.
I love my postpartum patients.
They're awesome.
I mean, I love all my patients.
I know. Like,
I'm thinking of you right now. You know, you guys know who you are.
It's hard to choose. But let's start with like, okay, so postpartum is a big category because there's postpartum from vaginal delivery, C-section. There's acute postpartum, and then there's like 7 years down the road postpartum and things that could be lingering from having given birth. So where do we start? Do you want to take it away with like the 6-week assessment, like what we're kind of looking at with a fresh postpartum patient?
So specifically, let's go like based on like we talked about pregnancy, right? The patient can see us during pregnancy. Then we give them like their 0 to 6 week exercise protocol so that they're not just like confused on what to do for those first 6 weeks.
Yeah. If you want more info on that, go listen to our pregnancy episode. We talk all about it there.
Yep. And then after that, they come back to see us at their 6-week appointment. So you have your 6-week like medical clearance with your OB, and then you're clear. They'll be like, okay, go have sex and like exercise. And then we've already talked about how we're like, that's scary. So then you come see us and you're like, hey, my OB told me to go have sex and exercise. And now I pee every time I do a jumping jack and it hurts to put a penis in or put a finger in or whatever. And now I don't know what to do.
Sidebar on that note, before we even do our assessment, that 6-week medical clearance is literally just for like risk of hemorrhaging, making sure stitches are healing well, things like that. Like it is strictly medical clearance. So you go to that visit and if you're told like you're good to have sex, you're good to run, just know that like the normal timeline for actually returning to those activities is much longer for most people.
Yeah,
so if you're like, I am not ready to have sex, I have no desire to do that. If I run, I pee myself, like you're still in a normal healing place at that time. So don't take those words and think you're like abnormal for not being ready for that at the 6-week mark. At our 6-week visit, we are assessing the integrity of the pelvic floor from a muscular standpoint and a soft tissue standpoint. So whether you delivered vaginally or not, an internal assessment is almost always indicated at that postpartum assessment, because if you listen to our pregnancy episode, we talk about all the pelvic floor changes that occurred during pregnancy. So even if you deliver with a C-section, you're still going to have those changes occur. So we still want to see what's going on with the pelvic floor and see where we can go with those muscles. But if you deliver vaginally, there's the added component of like, we're assessing for scar tissue if you had a perineal tear or just how the muscles responded to delivery. In general, we're assessing for prolapse, we're assessing for anything that can occur and that you're at higher risk for during pregnancy. And then if you had a cesarean delivery, we're going to definitely look at that abdominal scar tissue, make sure it's healing well, check sensitivity, see where we want to go with that. And then we always look at the abdominal wall in general. We talked about diastasis recti before, and we're looking for all of those things. And that's just really the pelvic component. But postpartum, we're also going to ask you about upper back pain. You're holding a newborn. How's your mobility? We're looking at the hips, low back. It really is a full body assessment, and every patient has a different thing they're coming in with. So that is the standard assessment. But
and we talk about exercise goals.
Yeah.
Like, because postpartum, the biggest thing, people are like, I want to get back. I'm so excited. Usually when I see people during pregnancy and they're like 37 weeks, they're just like, I saw someone running in the park yesterday. I'm so excited to get back to running. So we are going to talk about those goals and how we're going to go approach that in terms of strengthening for postpartum.
Yeah. This is a good avenue to go down. Let's say we're seeing a marathoner and they're like, they deliver in March and they're like, I want to run Chicago this year, which is a Chicago marathon is always in October for those that don't know. So training season starts in June. So what are you going to tell that person? I would tell that person that I'm seeing them at 6 weeks, right? So they delivered let's say they delivered beginning of March. I'm seeing them mid-April. We've got another 6 weeks to go with a textbook case where things are healing on time, all that and whatnot. I'm not having someone run and put impact on their pelvic floor until 8 weeks postpartum. And that is like best case scenario. In my clinic, I don't recommend it because I want to assess functional measures first. I want to see what your pelvic floor is doing strength-wise. I want to make sure you can relax and contract well. Your abdominals simply are not built to withstand that type of load until that point because they've been stretched for 9 months. Like, that's a long time. And then if all goes well, I'm really starting a return to run protocol mostly around that 12-week mark. So like, even though we put impact around the 8-week mark, that could be like jumping, high impact exercise, maybe some intervals around that point. And I understand that there are people out there that are going to like do it anyway. This is my educated suggestion. I would say around that 12-week mark is when you're going to start like a return to run protocol, a couch to 5K, and sometimes a little bit earlier than that if all's going well. So it's person to person. Like, if you can make it work with your training season, you could get back into that. Like, am I going to say I fully recommend running Chicago this year? Maybe if they're a seasoned runner and they've run marathons before and it's something that their body like adapts to very naturally. But like, if it's your first marathon, I'm not suggesting that. That's my take.
Well said. If I have a runner postpartum, similar thing. I tell them kind of around like the 12 weeks, we'll do like more of like a running assessment and like start that return to run program. But before that, I do a lot of just like pelvic floor coordination training. It depends on the person. But if they're having like leakage or like weakness specifically, we'll do like a lot of strengthening, a lot of single leg strengthening, because I say like running is like a single leg sport, because think about the gait cycle and then the running gait cycle, how often you're on 2 legs at a time. It's like a millisecond, I feel like.
And think about how much your pelvic floor stabilizes while you're on one leg. And it's just doing that on repeat for hours at a time if you're a distance runner.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of strength and coordination and stability that your pelvic floor needs, and you just had a baby.
Yeah. I love using the Bosu ball. Now we have a Bosu ball in our clinic.
I do love the Bosu. I'm glad you said to get that. I was
I know.
like, we're missing something.
I was like, what do you think about a Bosu ball? And she was like, I'll get you a Bosu ball.
And I got it that
But it's got to be aesthetic, and it's going to be all black.
I was like, it has to fit the aesthetic of the gym, so we're getting this one.
And I love that. Yeah, we don't want like that blue Bosu ball
blue
in here. Are you
Bosu,
kidding me? We
come
have
on.
way too many plants for that.
No, our plants are like green, our floor's black. We're like, let's make it a little
Aesthetic.
sexy.
Sexy Bosu ball moment. Quick run back. If you had a C-section and you are like, what the heck? Why does my vagina hurt? Why does it hurt to put anything in my vagina? And you're like, I had a C-section. This doesn't make sense. I didn't push anything on my vagina. I think the important thing is to think about how long you were pregnant for and how much pressure you had on your pelvic floor. That is where majority of that tension, pelvic floor tension and pain is coming from postpartum, not necessarily like the just pushing through the vagina.
Yeah, that's
So
a good point.
I just wanted to make that point because a lot of people come in with C-section and are like really discouraged and confused.
Yeah.
Or will want to get a C-section because they don't want their they don't want their vagina to be affected. And I'm like, well, think about how much pressure you have in your pelvic floor. Your pelvic floor will be affected either way, but you're here, so we'll help you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So don't think that just by getting a C-section that's going to like prevent anything.
Yeah.
You could still have similar outcomes postpartum. But there are instances where you have to get a C-section, and if you do, you're still going to be okay.
You're in good hands
Well,
if you have one.
You will be. And there are patients that are like, I don't like pushing is just not a thing that I feel like I can do. So like, and I had a C-section the first time. So I know I'm going to do a C-section again because that worked out for me well the first time. And that's totally okay too.
Yeah.
If that works for you.
I think they recommend them if you had them the first time because it's going to be a little bit harder to deliver vaginally.
Yeah.
But
A little bit
my
harder.
mom.
But I have some VBACs sometimes.
My mom's first was a C-section. The rest were vaginal.
Mm-hmm.
So it can happen if it's a goal of yours. Good sidebar. Yeah. So, whether you deliver vaginally or with a C-section, you're in good hands with pelvic floor therapy. We have the tools to help facilitate recovery in both cases and get you back to doing the things you love. Timelines might look a little bit different. What we actually do in treatment might look a little bit different.
Timelines in general will look different no matter what for every person because it depends heavily on like what you did during your pregnancy too.
Absolutely. So we recommend, our biggest thing with advocacy is getting people to come in. Our biggest thing with pelvic floor advocacy is trying to get more people to come in during pregnancy or even like before they start trying or thinking about getting pregnant, just to get that preparatory work because it makes such a big difference with postpartum recovery.
Yeah.
So come to pelvic floor PT if you are pregnant, at least for an assessment. At the very least, you'll learn something and you'll have some new techniques to practice and you'll be better prepared for postpartum care. Mm-hmm. We're back to our pregnancy episode now. We got to get back to postpartum.
Back to postpartum. I got a question that I wrote down actually. I've been wanting to answer, and I want you to answer it because I feel like I asked you before and you answered it well.
Okay. I don't remember.
It was, I've had people ask me all the time. So commonly people will have some pain with intercourse or pain with penetration specifically after delivery. No matter what, whether you had a C-section or a vaginal delivery. And I've been asked in the clinic before, like, will having sex, penetrative sex, help with decreasing the pain? Because I'm just doing it more often and it's stretching the vagina. Like, will that just help? Should I just do it?
So to that question, I've been asked that too. It's a little tricky because like you're not going to know how your body responds unless you try it. But usually when people are asking that, they have already tried it and it's painful. So we want to work with painful stimuluses in a specific way that helps to reduce that stimulus. So if you're stressed about it and you're going into sex thinking this is going to hurt, I'm not excited for this, I'm freaking out about it, and then it ends up hurting, I would say it's not necessarily making it worse, but it's not going to make it better because you're just like leaning into that painful stimulus and it's not something you're actually enjoying.
And you're getting back to like the pushing through it.
Yeah.
Rather than like learning how to relax and like.
And I would approach it the same way I would like if someone comes in and they're like, every time I squat, I'm in excruciating pain. I'm not going to have them just like keep squatting until it's not excruciating, but they might be able to do body weight squats and modifications. So we're going to also modify sex that way.
And we can do dilators.
We can do dilators. You can do your like accessory muscle work, your specific targeted work that is not the actual activity at hand. So you can do your like pelvic floor releases with us. You can use dilators. You can use your wand. We can give you the stretches and exercises that help downtrain those muscles. But the ultimate way to test it is gonna be to like ease back into that activity at a lower intensity. So have your partner use their finger. Have your partner just go into the first layer, like edging a little bit. Like there's different ways you can get back into having sex where like you're still excited about it and you're in that state where it is a little less painful. And then ultimately, when you have full penetrative, deep penetration sex, if that's something that is a goal of yours, then it won't be as painful and you'll at least be less scared of it so that you're not feeding into that stimulus more. And the same way like I would approach squatting, I'm like, yeah, ultimately our goal is to get you back squatting. So I'm going to have you squat with maybe like a dumbbell and we'll see, is that pain free? Now let's go to the next level. And then we go from there.
Yeah. I love like metaphors. I guess it's technically a simile. You're like, it's like squatting.
It's like
because they use like her
yeah.
ass.
Like her ass. We used to like her ass.
If you're an English teacher, get on our
if you're an English teacher and you want to come on our podcast
and teach us
how to English better.
Amanda's my thesaurus.
I do the thesaurus things on the daily. Yeah, I mean that's my answer.
That was great. Well said.
Sick.
Lovely.
Let's
talk about diastasis.
Okay.
Diastasis.
So if you listened to our core stability episode, we talk about diastasis a lot in that. And actually, you should go listen to that episode because a lot of it is about postpartum core stability. And we do talk about C-sections in that episode as well. So in the effort of not beating a dead horse, we won't like talk about that so much today, but that's a short episode. It has a lot of good information on how we tackle diastasis recti, which is common postpartum. What I'd like to dive into a little bit more on this episode specifically is with a vaginal versus C-section, what are we doing manually for those things? And like how can we approach that as pelvic floor PTs? And I'll just start with like C-sections manually. Our first line of treatment, assuming tissue healing is going well, because we don't want to like poke at something that's not closed and healed on the surface level. Tissue healing takes much longer underneath the surface. Is going to be to resensitize that area because a lot of people don't realize when you have a surgical incision, you can have numbness in that area for like upwards of 6 months. It takes a full year for that to fully heal. So you can have some rewiring going on with those nerves in that area for up to that amount of time. So a lot of times people come in and they're like, I can't really feel that area and it's uncomfortable to touch because I just feel like pressure and it's weird and I don't know that sensation. So a lot of times we're just using this light touch at first to try to resensitize that tissue so that people can do self-massage techniques without fear avoidance of that, knowing that it is helping the scar tissue. And then we can start to mobilize that scar tissue a little bit more to help with tissue healing. And we can do that manually. After a certain amount of time, we can do that with dry needling, these techniques that really help.
Cupping.
Tissue. Cupping.
I love cupping
Handling
C-section
cupping.
scars. I do cupping all the time, actually, on the abdomen.
Yeah.
I'm a cup queen.
Cup queen of the Midwest.
Cup queen.
She's a cup queen in the Midwest.
I'm a period cup queen. I'm a abdominal cup queen.
She's a martini cup queen.
Yeah. No! All the cups.
All the cups. Espresso martinis. Sounds good, doesn't it?
Should we?
After the store.
After the what? Oh, I thought you said the storm. I'm like, girl,
storm,
are you having a premonition?
Winter is coming after the storm. Winter. Oh, man. Yeah, so that's C-section. Do you want to talk about vaginal?
Yes. Like manual treatments. Well, both after C-section or vaginal delivery, we'll do internal manual release.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I feel like it looks a lot like when we did perineal massage during pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
It looks a lot like that postpartum commonly.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like I'm really concentrating on that first pelvic floor muscle layer most of the time.
Yeah, and that's where you'll have most of like the scar tissue too. If you had a perineal tear, it's going to be mostly in that first layer. It can go deeper for sure. So we're just like treating what we see at that
Or you could have
point.
like an internal sulcal tear or something like
Mhm.
that. You could have different tears in different places, not just a posterior tear.
Yeah. But for things like pain with sex, scar tissue healing for that perineal tissue, mostly it's in that first layer. And then
We'll work diaphragmatic breathing techniques
Yeah.
alongside internal treatment. Maybe we'll do some like mobility, like moving the leg while like stretching the tissue and etc.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. It doesn't look much different from a internal pelvic floor session for someone who was not postpartum. So it just depends on the needs of the patient at the end of the day. But we can use manual techniques. For all postpartum people, we are using therapeutic exercise and getting them back to their activities. And the goals, as Hannah mentioned, are going to be different for everyone. The timelines are going to look different from everyone. And that is what we do here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you have, sometimes I see commonly after delivery a tailbone pain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then
So that may be indicated for you sometimes.
Yeah. And some other postpartum considerations that are not directly involving the pelvic floor. Something to consider is that Hannah and I, and every pelvic floor therapist, is also just a physical therapist. So we're trained to treat the whole body. So with my postpartum patients, I always prioritize like upper back mobility, and I ask how like arms and wrists are feeling too. So if you've heard of like mommy wrist or people having carpal tunnel symptoms during pregnancy and being at an elevated risk for that, I always like to check in on those symptoms because you're going from, especially if it's your first baby, going from not having children to holding this thing literally all day long in a position that your arm is just like rotated. You're up in this like hiked shoulder position. People have kinks in their neck, kinks in their back. A lot of people get this wrist pain close to like the thumb called mommy wrist. And actually a big referral point for that is your brachialis muscle, which is above your elbow. So you can imagine in this kinked position, you're using that muscle above the elbow 24/7 basically. And you're not used to using it. So that could be referring down. So sometimes I just stick a needle in there and I dry needle that. And like, they're like, oh yeah, that's my pain. I feel that in my thumb.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so we can really kind of tackle any postpartum like muscle aches and pains that are anywhere in the body too.
If you're postpartum, does your left arm hurt? I guarantee it does because you're probably right-handed and you're probably carrying your baby in your left arm all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Shared experience.
Your left shoulder, left arm is probably hurting. So we can also work on that.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Anything else? I don't think so.
Yeah. Postpartum, pretty.
Yeah, if you have postpartum questions, we're happy to answer them. If there's something you want us that we discussed that you're like, I need more information on that.
Remember, postpartum is definitely not just those 6 weeks. Yeah. Postpartum is a whole year minimum.
A whole year. They say hormonally it's 2 years to get back to like your baseline hormonal balance. Also, consider that how long and if you breastfeed, how long you breastfeed for, that can change your hormone levels at the different stages of postpartum recovery. It can like delay ligament laxity healing a little bit. So your timeline might look a little bit different, and that's not a bad thing. You can still fully like recover in that time. But all of that plays into it too. And we just treat whatever symptoms come up. So if you're leaking, you have urgency, incontinence, anything like that, we're going to work with those timelines in addition to you being postpartum. And then another consideration on top of that is like sometimes I will see patients 6-7 years down the road after having a kid and their symptoms started when they were freshly postpartum. We can still treat that. So if it's something that's like coming up periodically and it started when you were pregnant, started when you were newly postpartum, that's still something that is worth being seen for because we make changes years down the road, especially if it is involving scar tissue. We can make big changes in that area.
Comparison is the devil, by the way, when it comes to postpartum.
Not just the thief of joy, the devil.
Yes. Do not feel like if you see someone who's postpartum and they're like 12 weeks and they're like running 3 miles and you're like, what the hell? Like, do not compare yourself to that person because everyone heals at different rates and you will heal and it will take time, and don't get discouraged. It's a new phase of life. And that's just like what I tell my patients.
Yeah.
And like, we will get you there.
Mm-hmm.
And see a pelvic floor PT because we can help you and make you feel not alone in this. Because you'll see how common it is for people to feel this way postpartum, because we have these discussions with patients all the time, and we'll help you reach your goals a lot faster.
Mm-hmm. Well said.
Yeah.
Make sure you are following us on social media in case you want to submit a story or question for us at Pelvic POV.
And follow our personal accounts at Hannah Meyer, MEYE. What? At Hannah Meyer, MEYYERR.
And Amanda Neary, PT, and is in November.
And as in newborn baby.
Postpartum people.
And even though it starts with a P, both of those words start with a P.
No, newborn. No, like a whole thing, like a whole phrase, like newborn baby.
Oh, newborn baby,
people.
postpartum people, pelvic freak.
Pelvic freaks. Bye, pelvic freaks.
Bye.